this pilot was never contacted by the FAA's top flight surgeon, Susan Northrup, to find out what exactly happened, including the obvious question, was this cardiac arrest related to the airline's federally mandated vaccine policies? They don't want to ask any questions about this or any other event like it. Instead, the Biden administration quietly loosened the EKG requirements for pilots, which is not in the interest of public safety. We thought it'd be worth speaking to Captain Bob Snow, who is a commercial airline pilot and brave enough to come on our show. Captain, I sure appreciate your coming on. So you, if I recounted that story correctly, you had a heart attack 6 minutes after you landed a commercial flight with 200 passengers. And I'm so glad that you survived. What happened next, or what didn't happen next, do you believe should have happened?
Well, evening, Tucker, and thank you for having me. Of course, everybody's heard the story of what happened with me about 6 minutes after landing our flight from Denver to DFW. After spending 7 days in the ICU in the DFW metro area, I was released to go back home. And since that date, I arrived home approximately April 16th. I've had no contact whatsoever from anyone either with the FAA or with the company to query me or to investigate exactly what happened to me in regards to the cardiac arrest that I experienced while I was in the flight deck.
That seems crazy. I mean, the FAA is very strict with pilots, famously strict. That's why our planes land on time and safely. Why do you think they haven't reached out to you?
Well, that's an interesting question, and I think that's one that bears investigation. The FAA, as far as I'm concerned, was in violation of their own guidelines by allowing the administration of EUA-issued vaccines to pilots. Aeromedical guidelines are very strict. We ply our trade based upon our license. Our license is what allows us to operate aircraft, but we can't utilize that license unless we have a valid medical. The FAA has always been very specific on what is allowed to be administered to a pilot. We're not allowed to participate in drug trials, for instance. And an EUA-issued vaccine is certainly not anything that's been approved by the FAA. It's under an EUA. For us to be subject to a mandate without any investigation, without any sort of 12-month studies as to the adverse effects that these vaccines may have, is to me unconscionable. We were basically treated as giant guinea pigs, and unfortunately, of course, we're ultimately responsible. We're the ultimate arbiters of safety in regards to the operation of the aircraft. My primary job as a captain for a major airline is risk mitigation. I'm there essentially to make sure that the operation is run safely, effectively, and primarily on time, if at all possible. But safety is paramount, is with the saying that we've always utilized. And they basically abrogated their responsibility to look after our safety by forcing us to undergo this vaccination program.
And then their only response is to loosen the requirements for heart ailments in pilots. At this point, knowing that, experiencing what you did personally, are you worried about the safety of commercial air travel?
Well, of course, I do have some concerns. I've been contacted by pilots that have had issues post-vaccine. I'm well aware of one of my former coworkers who unfortunately passed away as a consequence of receiving the vaccine. And this is something that it's going to take a long-term investigation to figure out, what sort of debilitating issues can we be suffering as a result of this foolhardy vaccination program that was that forced upon Americans and the worldwide population. This jab for job idea that folks came up with in management and in the FAA, and also with Biden's vaccine mandate is absolutely unconscionable. I cannot believe that in this day and age, particularly in light of, I remember the swine flu vaccination program in the 1970s. They had some serious adverse reactions to that, and that vaccine was pulled almost immediately. But it seems like now everybody has their blinders on, and nobody seems to want to give any consideration to the potential adverse effects of the COVID vaccines. It's become an exceptionally political issue.
I can't even imagine the consequences you're risking for coming on the show, Pilot Bob Snow, and I'm just really grateful that you did, and I hope the Congress follows up right away. Thank you.
Well, I want to thank you for having me, and if anybody would like any more information, certainly you can take a look at Josh Yoder and U.S. Freedom Flyers or Colonel Tom Renfer at hopingforjustice.org, and thanks again for having me this evening.
Absolutely.